There we were, my team, and I at last having a much-needed lunch break in the shade of a big oak tree. After working 5 consecutive hours in the 90-degree heat, we had made great headway on Karen's backyard patio redo, despite her hovering and nitpicking all morning just as I unwrapped my sandwich. The sliding glass door slammed open with such force I thought it would shatter. "What do you think you're doing?" Karen shrieked, her face already turning that characteristic color of red that had become all too familiar in the past week. "You don't get to just drop everything and take off whenever you please. Union breaks don't work here. This is my property, and I need this done today." I explained calmly that according to labor laws and our contract, my staff was entitled to a 30-minute lunch break after working over 5 consecutive hours. She wasn't having it. "I don't mind what your silly contract states," she spat with a voice full of contempt. "I'm the HOA president, and I know the rules better than anyone. Get back to work right away, or I'll have your licenses revoked so fast your heads will spin." When none of us budged, her eyes grew wide with shock that someone would actually challenge her authority. What came next still feels unreal. Karen strode over to our gear, picked up my impact driver, and threw it onto the street. Then she made a grab for the nail gun. My foreman, Tom, stood up to stop her before she was able to ruin more valuable tools, which only made her madder. "Don't you dare touch me," she yelled while continuing to throw little tools onto the road. "This is assault. I'll call 911. Retrospectively, I should have realized the signs of trouble on day one. Karen Westfield, the self-styled most important person in Sunnyside Estates, had hired my contracting firm on the basis of our excellent reputation for quality work. The job appeared to be simple: renovate her backyard patio with top-quality materials so that it would be the envy of the neighborhood. The price we settled on was generous, which should have been my first warning sign from the instant we arrived on the first day. Karen treated my crew like personal servants instead of skilled professionals. She barked instructions regarding where to put our equipment, questioned our qualifications at every turn, and hovered so close that my tile expert Miguel almost bumped into her. 3 times she'd change her mind regarding materials we'd already bought, requiring exchanges without regarding restocking fees. She'd point to our work and say things like, "My 10-year-old could do better than that." With a condescending sneer every morning, she'd greet us with a new list of complaints and extra work that weren't included in the original contract. "While you're here, you might as well fix my garden lights as well," she'd add with a sweep of her hand. Consider it a favor to the HOA president who signs off on all contractor licenses in this community. When I reminded her that more work demanded more pay, she snorted. "Do you know how many contractors would murder for my endorsement? I can break or make your business here in this community." The work conditions went downhill fast. Karen wouldn't allow bathroom use, compelling my crew to utilize facilities at a gas station. A couple of blocks from there, she'd shadow employees criticizing their technique and implying they were consciously working slowly in order to rack up her bill. Worst of all, she began skipping agreed-upon payment milestones, asserting she'd pay when she was satisfied with the quality. Even though our contract explicitly outlined the payment schedule, after a week of this kind of treatment, my crew was at their breaking point. Tom recommended that we walk away, but I didn't want to leave them hanging a project job. Then arrived the lunch break incident that sent us over the edge, as Karen kept going on and on about our laziness and incompetence. She ratcheted up to wild accusations. "I saw one of your men lurking around my garage earlier," she said, stabbing her finger in Miguel's direction. "What did he steal? I demand to search all your cars right away." When I would not let her search our personal property without reason, she yanked out her phone. "That's it. You're all trespassing now. You're squatting on my property and not leaving." She called 911 with theatrics flair, making the transmission live so we could hear her acting. "Emergency, please help," she said with a voice that was suddenly shaking in a voice that didn't sound one bit like the woman who had been yelling at us just moments before. "There are men in my house who won't leave. I feel threatened. They're breaking my property and not wanting to go. Please hurry." The change was breathtaking, from raging tyrant to damsel in distress. In the blink of an eye, my team and I gave each other looks of astonishment as she created a totally false account to the dispatcher. We were cool packing our personal stuff while cautiously documenting the condition of the half-finished project with our phones. I figured we might need proof later. 2 police officers showed up within minutes. Officer Martinez and Officer Dawson approached tentatively, Obviously anticipating an explosive scene from Karen's phone call, Karen rushed over to them, her acting now encompassing what seemed to be genuine tears. "These men have threatened me all morning," she spoke in a shaking voice. "They destroyed my original patio purposely, so I'd have to pay for additional work, and now they're not going to complete unless I pay them twice." Our deal officer Martinez glanced at my crew, 5 professional-type men, standing quietly by our trucks, and then back at Karen. "Ma'am, can you indicate to me where the damage is?" he asked as Karen took them around, pointing at the usual demolition work that occurs during any renovation. I quietly indicated Officer Dawson our contract complete with Karen's signature, along with timestamp photos showing our progress as per the approved plans. I also indicated to him text messages where Karen had insisted on changes without wishing to pay for them, and clips of her dumping our equipment into the street just minutes before the officer's demeanor shifted as he browsed through the evidence. "How long have you been working with this client?" he inquired softly. "8 days," I answered, "and we've chronicled everything since day 3, when the issue began, when Karen came back with Officer Martinez, still midst her fancy story about our alleged ineptness and threats." Officer Dawson cleared his throat. "Ma'am, I've reviewed some paperwork that contradicts your statements. It seems this is a contract dispute and not a criminal issue." Karen's performance suddenly disappeared. "What paperwork? What did they present to you? Whatever it is, they've clearly manipulated it. Do you recognize who I am? I'm the president of the Sunnyside Estates HOA. I can have your supervisor on the phone with one call." That was the moment I knew with absolute certainty that we were finished with this job. I calmly informed Karen we would be terminating our contract under the harassment clause, paragraph 6, which he had repeatedly violated. We would be taking our materials and equipment, and she would be getting an itemized bill for work done. So far, the expression of shock on her face was almost laughable. "You can't quit work for me? I'll see that you never work again in this county," as we loaded up our trucks under the watchful eyes of the officers. Neighbors started to come out of their houses wondering about the disturbance. Karen, realizing she had an audience, tried to save her reputation by loudly declaring that she had fired us for poor work. But the neighbors had seen the police vehicles, and a few had seen her throwing our tools earlier. One brave soul, an older man named Frank from across the street, walked up to Officer Martinez. "If you need any information about how Karen treats service people, my security cameras have recorded quite a lot over the years," he said softly but loud enough for others around him to hear. "And I'm not the only one who has evidence." The next few weeks released a tidal wave of reports about Karen's terror regime as HOA president. After we filed our civil complaint for breach of contract and harassment, we found we weren't alone. Our social media post regarding the ordeal opened the floodgates. Landscapers, plumbers, roofers, and even the community pool maintenance company stepped forward with same tales of bullying, payment from their bank account, withholding, and threats of having their licenses revoked, and future work in the neighborhood. More sinister were the tales from other homeowners. Cindy of 2 doors down reported that Karen had threatened to have a lien placed on her home over unauthorized garden gnomes. The Williams family had been fined again and again for phantom violations each time that they voted against Karen's ideas at HOA meetings, and several residents reported that Karen often used her master key to open houses for inspections while owners were away. The watershed moment occurred when a previous HOA treasurer, David, presented police with financial records which indicated imbalances in the association's accounts. Karen had seemingly been authorizing payments to vendors who had actually done work on her individual property. Not community spaces, she had also been forging sign-off signatures for her own home renovations, including our patio project, to avoid the very permit process she used against others. Police widened their probe, getting warrants to sift through bank statements and HOA records within 3 weeks. Karen was detained during an HOA meeting where, ironically, she had been calling for tougher penalties for homeowners who broke contractual terms. The charges were fraud, embezzlement, forgery, intimidation, and misappropriation of community funds, amounting to more than $68,000. The courtroom was full for Karen's sentencing hearing. 2 months later, the judge, visibly shaken by the magnitude of her schemes, gave her a 3-year sentence with 1 year to be served in county jail and 2 years on probation. She was also ordered to pay restitution of $112,000 to the HOA and affected homeowners, plus court costs when the sentence was announced. Karen's face contorted with indignation. "This is ridiculous," she shouted as officers approached to take her into custody. "Don't you people understand I was improving our community? I was raising our property values." Her voice cracked as reality finally came to her. "Who's going to be in charge of the HOA without me? These people don't know what they're doing." Those were her final words before being led out of the courtroom, still thinking herself the victim of a conspiracy against her authority.